A fire that doesn't warm only invites the traveler to go astray. The phantom flame that dances over marshes and graves, flickering blue-green as if blowing ancient secrets. Villagers say guǐhuǒ follows the wind but resists human breath, preferring silence to bravado. To ward it off, some carry willow branches, others recite short incantations and keep walking without looking directly at the flame. In oral accounts, the guǐhuǒ hovers over crossroads, as if marking some old mistake on the map. If the fire is born where there was loss, who gives it a voice? If the fire points to a void, what spirit demands justice when the light finally goes out? Perhaps the answer is walking right behind you.
A red ribbon that flutters restlessly is the call of yuan, the wronged ghost. It doesn't demand blood, it demands a name, testimony, and acknowledgement of wrongdoing. It is the symbolic counterpart of the guǐhuǒ, where light confuses, grievance clarifies. In the yin-yang duality, resentment seeks harmony through ritual. Communities erect altars with tea, incense, and wooden tablets, restoring identity to the victim. What you didn't know is that there are tales in which yuan protects children who witnessed its death, gently exacting justice as if protecting innocence until trial. In modern contexts, ribbons, portraits, and candles become murals, an assembly of absences that refuse to disappear. Villages recorded complaints on tablets at the temple door, initiating ritual investigations. When the complaint goes unanswered, mourning ferments. Where the name is not spoken, the face twists. If the village remains silent, something fiercer awakens. Those who are remembered live. Those who are forgotten wander. Without a name on the altar and without incense at the festival, the person becomes a wild ghost, betraying failures in mourning and filiation. Its origins date back to the Yuan, when lanterns, paper boats, and paper money guided wandering souls to the shore. Offering lists include rice, water, fruit, salt, and a candle, as if simplicity illuminated more than luxury. You should know that some regions scatter grain on street corners for the yegui to count until dawn, occupying the mind with tasks. Where virtue calls for caution, temptation calls for a shortcut, and there are spirits that, instead of wandering, attract. Some imitate beloved voices, point out shortcuts, and demand haste where the forest sets traps.
Whispers in the forest promise escape and draw circles in the dew. Here is Changhui, the tiger's victim turned bait. Ambiguous by definition, it is pity and terror, innocence perverted by a chain of hunger. Its nature is dubious, benevolent when it warns honest hunters, cruel when it pushes travelers into the Green Gorge. The classic narrative speaks of forked trails, one safe and one seemingly shorter. The familiar voice points out the short one. But what you don't know is that hunters hung bells on branches. If they rang without wind, bait was lurking. Villagers taught their children that one doesn't respond to one's name on the trails, for Changhui imitates affectionate timbers. If some seduce with tricks, others attack in the light. And when grief turns to anger, a ferocious ghost is born, unwilling to speak, unceremoniously, with black nails and eyes, determined to turn wounds into blades. It's time for confrontation.
Without a grave, without a name, without a restraint, the ligui is the scream that has lost its words. It has a lolling tongue, blackened nails, dull skin, inaudible breath, an anatomy of resentment. It is born when there is a violent death, denied rights, sabotaged memory. It does not seek an audience, it seeks an outlet. Traditional protections include talismans traced with a cinnabar brush, peachwood knives that say, "Cut evil," bowls of sticky rice on doorposts, and the ringing of bells at dawn. Did you know that in certain villages the threshold is swept diagonally, cutting the trails of resentment? Reason seeks proof. The village wants healing. During periods of conflict, generations were born without complete rights. After fear, we seek guardians. We need someone who negotiates with terrain, the weather, and the path. Someone who calms the fog, whistles to cliffs, and returns passage. Perhaps he lives in the mountains, where the echo responds first to the traveler.
The mountain demands tribute, but returns passage. The shangui is the guardian of topography and humor, a summit spirit that punishes arrogance and rewards humility. History tells that sacred peaks were greeted with offerings, sesame oil, tea, silk threads before difficult crossings. Those who laughed at the landmarks lost their way. Those who saluted the place gained respite from the weather. Some veteran guides whistle 3 ascending notes before crossing mist to wake the guardian. Before trail fashions, there were swamps, bamboo poles, and bronze mirrors facing the water. Rituals functioned as signposts, painting clear, invisible orders on the terrain. If the mountain negotiates passage, the marsh invents labyrinths, and certain things lurk beneath the narrow planks, awaiting impatient and ambitious steps. The swamp breathes beneath, in bubbles that burst slowly. Beneath the walkways, the wood trembles like a tired eyelid. Water mirrors hide mouths. The fog seems to think. The ancients called it wútóu, the spirit of the marsh, born when man tries to measure what he should only fear. In the villages, they erected bamboo fences to drain the mud and hung bronze mirrors, believing that the reflection confused the shadows. It was science and superstition in the same frame. Fishermen tied bells under the dock. If they vibrated without wind, everyone retreated. But the true never needed form, only those who gazed at it too long. At the edge of the dock, the boy sees his reflection change. Another face stares at him, uncertain. The bell vibrates. He retreats. The fog responds, whispering his wrong name. When the head doesn't tell the story, the body does. The wútóu is the decapitated ghost, soldiers, convicts, accidents, that wanders searching for its face. In Zongyuan, many houses avoid knocking on their doors at night, so as not to confuse those seeking entry. Appeasement practices include low lanterns leading to crossroads and burned paper money opening return trails. At festivals, hollowed-out masks and cars with paper heads stage reconciliation with the faceless. Accounts of executions, battles, and civil catastrophes have fueled local versions, which teach not to mock disasters. Certain villages place jars of cold water on the steps to clear the mind from the body. Avoid knocking, maintain silence, and light a path, restoring minimal guidance to the traveler. When the light guides the lost, we return to the first fire, guǐhuǒ, remembering that memory, ritual, and respect are maps. If the village takes care of the names, the flame loses its power. The cycle closes and begins again, inviting the public to observe their own crossroads with patience, prudence, and compassion.